What started as the biggest driver move in modern F1 history might just become one of the sport's greatest what-ifs. Lewis Hamilton, 7-time world champion, the icon who redefined dominance at Mercedes, was supposed to be the man to bring glory back to Ferrari. The missing piece. The Red Knight. The chosen one to wake the sleeping giant of Maranello and return titles to the Scuderia. But here we are, mid-2025, and what was meant to be a fairy tale is unraveling faster than a DRS flap in Monza. No podiums, no wins, and now, no confidence. At the Hungarian Grand Prix, Hamilton looked like a shadow of the man who once turned F1 into his playground. After qualifying 12th while Charles Leclerc claimed pole position, Lewis didn't sugarcoat it. "I'm useless," he said, the words of a driver spiraling into self-doubt. But then came the real bombshell. There's a lot going on behind the scenes that's not great. Suddenly, this wasn't just about pace or setup. It was about politics, tension, and something much deeper under Ferrari's hood. And let's not forget, Hamilton's contract, intentionally vague, was labeled as multi-year. But insiders say it runs through 2026, with a driver option for 2027. In other words, Lewis holds the keys. But after those comments in Budapest, you have to wonder, is he already reaching for the exit? Enter Johnny Herbert, former F1 driver and ex-FIA steward, who's watching this slow-motion collapse with the rest of us. And he's not buying the silence. According to Herbert, the Ferrari-Hamilton alliance might already be on life support. And if things don't improve by the end of 2025, don't be surprised if the plug is pulled. So if Lewis leaves, or if Ferrari shows him the door, who takes his seat? Herbert has a spicy suggestion: Carlos Sainz. Yep, the same Sainz who was kicked out to make room for Hamilton. The smooth operator himself, now grinding it out at Williams, suffering in a midfield car. But don't let that fool you. Herbert still believes Sainz is the real deal. Sainz has spoken openly about the shock of being dropped by Ferrari. He'd been negotiating a contract extension since October 2023, fully expecting to stay. Then came the January bombshell. Lewis is replacing you. No warning, just a phone call, and not even from Ferrari. A friend told him. Imagine that. 4 wins in red, 4 seasons keeping Leclerc honest. Blindsided. Now, Sainz is under contract with Williams through 2026, on paper. But the rumors are loud. If a top team comes calling, he's got an escape clause. And guess what? Ferrari might just be that call. So let's play this out. If Hamilton's words weren't just heat-of-the-moment frustration, but actual signs of dysfunction at Ferrari, what happens next? Herbert believes talks could already be underway behind closed doors. Maybe team and driver are quietly agreeing. If results don't improve, it's time to part ways. And maybe, just maybe, Sainz is already on the shortlist. But don't expect Max Verstappen to ride in on a red horse. Herbert shut that idea down completely. This isn't a Verstappen story. It's a Sainz redemption arc waiting to be written. Let's go back to the core issue: Lewis Hamilton and Ferrari's very public struggle to click. Team principal Fred Vasseur recently admitted what many already suspected. They underestimated how big this transition would be. Hamilton had spent his entire career, from McLaren to Mercedes, inside one giant Mercedes-shaped bubble. Same culture, same engineers, same systems. Moving to Ferrari was like moving to another planet. He spent 18 years in that environment, Vasseur said, and we stupidly expected him to have everything under control. It was naive. Sainz, by contrast, was a seasoned traveler. Toro Rosso, Renault, McLaren, Ferrari, now Williams. Hamilton was a one-team man, and that comfort was now gone. Vasseur admitted the early months were rough. It took 4 or 5 races for Lewis to even find his footing. From Canada to Austria, he looked closer to form. Then came Spa. Tough weekend. Hungary? A disaster. But Vasseur says don't overreact. The gap between P1 and P12 can be 1/10 of a second. In F1, a fraction means everything. But those fractions are stacking up, and Hamilton's frustration is getting louder. Vasseur says Lewis is demanding of his team and of himself. And that's fine. The mechanics can handle it, as long as the driver pushes just as hard on himself. But when that self-criticism turns existential, I'm useless. Maybe they should replace me. That's when people start to worry. Behind the scenes, Ferrari has tried to ease the transition. They brought in familiar faces from Mercedes: Loic Serra, Jerome D'Ambrosio, performance engineer Luca Diella, a support network. But even that hasn't closed the cultural gap fast enough. Ferrari isn't Brackley. It isn't Brixworth. It's Maranello. And in Maranello, pressure doesn't build. It explodes. Hamilton has shown flashes of his old brilliance, especially in sprint races. A win in China. A third place in Miami. But come Sunday, the podiums vanish. Not because the qualifying pace isn't there. He started P4 in Monaco. But because the execution doesn't follow through. Penalties, strategy errors, bad luck, it's all adding up. So here's the big question. Is this just a painful adjustment period? Or are we watching the early collapse of a move that should never have happened? Sainz would probably love to weigh in. He never wanted to leave Ferrari. He felt blindsided. On the High Performance podcast, he said, "We'd been talking since October about renewing. I never had doubts. He was training, preparing, waiting to sign. Then, out of nowhere, Lewis is in. You're out." And still, Sainz kept his head down at Williams, even trailing Albon. No results yet. Why? Because he sees the bigger picture. He knows Ferrari might come back, and he knows what he's capable of. The timing could be poetic. If Ferrari and Hamilton split at the end of 2025, Sainz would still be under contract, but open to return. And Ferrari? They'd get a known quantity. Someone who understands the system. Someone who kept Leclerc honest. Someone who doesn't need 5 races to find the gas pedal. Until then, the Ferrari garage remains one of the most volatile and fascinating spots on the grid. Because if the Hamilton experiment doesn't turn around soon, it won't just be a failed project. It'll be a PR disaster. And it'll open the door wide for Carlos Sainz to write one of the most dramatic comeback stories F1 has seen in years. Is Lewis already done at Ferrari before the story even began? Is Sainz quietly circling like a hawk, waiting for his moment to strike? Let us know what you think, and don't forget to like and subscribe. This drama is far from over.